Good morning. My name is Antoinette, and I'd like to talk to you about all things pre-K, TK, and the public school system. I am a 47, almost 48-year-old mom of four, and I am now in the second phase of my life where I don't know what I'm going to do. I was retaliated against for making a mandatory report, and I have learned some unfortunate things about the public school system. And I believe it is my responsibility as an educator and a mama and a friend to be able to share some of these things with you. So let's talk all things pre-K. In our program, in our Clouds Etiwanda preschool program, we had two demographics. So we had an early childhood education teacher, which was me, no multi-subject credential, and we had a special education teacher, early childhood. Now, that means that we focused, our area of education was focused on those young ages, which is pretty young, right? You know, preschool is young. So you're talking like early childhood. And it was a great program for a little bit. I mean, inclusion is amazing and we learn a lot from each other, but the program had some changes and we're going to talk about that. So our program had decided, we had been on cluster sites, which means that three or four of our preschool classrooms were on one particular site. We kind of were connected by like a hall. And if we ever needed to help each other, we could walk across the way and help each other out and whatnot. And I kind of like that because sometimes if somebody was absent or something like that, we could always kind of pop them in and help each other. Plus, the section area in the middle had a space where it had a changing table and an area where we could actually change the kids and, you know, just get them everything that they needed. And then also give them privacy because, you know, when you're changing diapers, special education students definitely need their privacy. So in the year 2022, we were told that our program was expanding and we were going to go to every site in the district. So we were adding quite a few new classes. And then instead of being on cluster sites, 3 or 4 teachers on cluster sites, preschool teachers on a cluster site, now we're going to be on our own and then through 13 Etiwanda K through 5 sites. We were told that we were going to be bringing in the inclusion of transitional kindergarten students, and they were going to be coming to us for enrichment. Now, right away when they started coming into our classroom, I mean, I kind of really didn't question it. Most of the time when you work for a school district, you kind of just trust that things are being done the right way. And one of the things I had noticed right away was that I wasn't able to take attendance with the transitional kindergarten students. And so I was kind of like, hey, like, how do we do this? Because, you know, we're not able to access those students on our system areas, which meant that I wasn't able to check their names, their addresses, their phone numbers, if I need to get in contact with a parent, like any sort of notes on their file. We were not able to access those. And so if I ever needed to really get those students information, I would have to go to their regular teacher, transitional kindergarten teacher, and that teacher would be their regular teacher, and that would be in the morning or in the afternoon. So if I was their PM teacher in the afternoon, then I would contact their morning teacher, and then vice versa. So it was just that the transitional kindergarten students, instead of doing 3 hours, they were able to now do a full day, and they spent this enrichment time in our class. So I did notice right away that there were some things that were kind of interesting. The transitional kindergarten students, unfortunately, they were not enriched. They're much older. They were doing a regular TK curriculum with their assigned teachers. And so you kind of realize they're bored, right? Because our program has now decided that we are going to be more play-based. And I mean, I saw some different changes, like they wanted us to sing the alphabet backwards. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like, I mean, you learn the alphabet, right? And you're like, I mean, I've been singing the alphabet like one way. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, I don't even know if I could teach this backwards. I don't know. So like Z, Y, X, all the way to I really had a hard time trying to teach my brain to learn the alphabet backwards. But it was a play-based program. And I found that the transitional kindergarten students, they were very squirmy, and it wasn't that they were naughty, they were bored. They were not enriched. But I had always assumed that the special education teacher had carried the credentials appropriate to have this demographic in our classroom. And unfortunately, that was not the case. So let's just do part 1. And let's just talk about the fact that, number one, if you are a student in the state of California and you are assigned to a grade, parents, your children need to go there. And I know this sounds silly because, I feel like I should have known too. Remember, our program was expanded through 13 K through 5 sites. And every teacher in our school district from the beginning of time has taught the grade they were assigned to teach and were credentialed to teach. When have we ever taught grades that we couldn't teach, right? So we knew our credentials. I knew what I could teach, and I know what I went to school for. And transitional kindergarten, unfortunately, is not the grade I could teach. So there was that. The special education teachers, they knew that they couldn't teach that grade unless they had a multi-subject credential. They'd probably been teaching special education preschool since the beginning of time. And that's just kind of how it works. Like if you were a high school teacher and they had said, hey, we're going to bring in preschoolers to the classroom and this is enrichment, we would probably say, well, that's kind of weird. We wouldn't do that. But nobody did. So I feel like that's a little bit strange, right? And I feel like, I remember I had asked questions right away, like, well, why can't I take attendance here? And then we were told that we needed to take attendance on a separate sheet. And then if I ever needed to contact those parents, then I had to contact their actual regular teacher. So let's just stop there. And I want to know your thoughts on what you guys think, because I feel like, we're so very trusting of the public school system. And a lot of the times we don't ask questions, and shame on me because I feel like I should have asked questions a lot sooner. But then when you realize it, there was 13 K through 5 sites with administrators, general education teachers, psychologists. We had a Clouds preschool team, and we're over here like, oh, hey, yay, we can do this TK, pre-K. You can't. Because transitional kindergarten has its own curriculum based on the needs of those students. And pre-K has its own curriculum based on those needs and those students. So tell me what you think. If you were a teacher and you were assigned a grade that you were not legally credentialed to teach, what would you think? And if you raised concerns, what did they say? And I'd just be so curious to, just kind of have these conversations with you guys, because as I continue on with this series, we're going to be talking about a lot of things, but I think this is really important to just kind of set the tone. These students were placed, transitional kindergarten students, were placed in preschool for enrichment. And later on, we'll talk a little bit about the word unduplicated. Look it up on the internet and see what that means to you, and we're going to talk about it because we have a lot to talk about. But priority enrollment was given to unduplicated students. And recently our superintendent, she just did a superintendent's letter on unduplicated students and how we're going to serve them. And I want to address that. So I can't wait to hear what you guys think. Drop a line, say hello. Tell me what you think about regressing, which means putting students backwards for enrichment. Okay, so if your student was in 5th grade and they were having trouble and the district said to you, hey, guess what? We can't wait to enrich them. We're going to put them in the 3rd grade. Tell me what you think. All right, let's talk. Let's keep talking. Let's keep chatting, because the only way that we're going to change the world is through conversations and learning. All right, guys? Mwah, I appreciate you. Have a great day. Let's talk.